Hey everybody, Mr. McIntosh here. I'm back from a little bit of a holiday break and we've got a lot to talk about. The security updates 2020-001 for Catalina and 2020-007 for Mojave, and Safari 1402 just came out 2 weeks ago. I'm a little bit late on this update, but I did a lot of testing and I wanted to get this information to you because I've been getting a lot of questions about, hey, are these updates safe after the last debacle of the 2020-005 and all the problems that it causes. I've got a lot of users that are waiting on all the testing that I usually do before I put out my security update article and video. So we've definitely got a lot to cover because there's a lot of weirdness that is going on in these security updates. So let's jump in and get started. One of the favorite tools that I like to use when I track software updates is Software Update Inspector. It's a really nice application that looks at the Apple catalogs that hold the updates for macOS. Now here's one of the updates. For example, here's the security update 2020-001. And here is the 2020-007. Let's talk a little bit about that versioning. What the heck is the difference here? Because normally when a security update comes out, they're the same. So last time when 2020-006 came out, High Sierra and Mojave had the same number. But now High Sierra is no longer supported. Rest in peace, sweet, sweet High Sierra. Mojave is taking your place as the third supported OS from Apple. Now, what does that mean? Big Sur is the main supported OS for the Mac. And what that means is it's going to get all the security updates and operating system fixes. The two previous updates after, now Catalina and Mojave, will no longer receive operating system fixes. They usually only now include security related fixes. So they spend all their time on the current OS making that good, but they're also going to support the previous two operating systems if there's any security vulnerabilities. So on the numbering part, since this is the first Catalina security update, they've named it 2020-001. And Mojave, this is the 7th security update of its release of this year, and that's why it's named 7. So that's what the versioning means when we're talking about that. Now, when the next update comes in the first quarter of 2021, they're both going to match up at 2021-001 to make it a little bit easier to understand the versioning. So that's it for these two pieces on the versioning numbers. Let's jump in here and talk about some of the interesting things about these updates here. The first thing I wanted to talk about is automatic update snapshots. This was a really neat feature that Apple put into 10.13 High Sierra. And I put a little article here, and if you want to read about this more, you can, and I'll put this in the description too. What's nice about this is what Apple did when APFS was introduced in 10.13 High Sierra is they made TMUtil or Time Machine local snapshots. So I could go into, and we'll do that right now. I'll show you what that looks like. You can go into Terminal, and we'll zoom in here, and we'll do TMUtil, and you can see all the options here. And one of the options that was made was local snapshots, and you can see that right here, TMUtil local snapshots, and you can actually see, you can do a list of local snapshots on the root volume to see, I have a couple snapshots in here already. What's interesting is that as soon as the updates came out, Apple came up with a way to take a snapshot like this before the update was installed. So you could always revert back if something went wrong. And this was a great feature, and Apple really didn't play it up until Catalina came out. Now, what's interesting is that when 10.15.3 came out, and I'll open up this article so you can see this, Apple removed this feature. And it's no longer working on Catalina anymore. And you can read this. Restore from snapshot. If your third-party software is incompatible with an update you just installed, use macOS Recovery to restore a snapshot of your computer taken right before the installation. macOS and all your apps will work just as they did before you install the update. What an amazing feature, right? But apparently it was causing some serious problems. So it was removed, and it was silently removed. And I even noticed in here that this part of the Catalina features was removed. So they removed the feature, it's gone. The good thing is it was still in Mojave and High Sierra. And now I mentioned this because I tested this to make sure this was still working after all this time. Another problem with Catalina is that they actually purged snapshots too. So let's say you made a snapshot, a manual one like this. Let's go back into Terminal, let's make one. TMUtil local snapshot and the root of the volume. And it says that it has made a snapshot with this date, but notice this here. This was recently added. Local snapshots are considered purgeable and may be removed at any time by deleted. And that's basically saying the system can delete those snapshots and updates can delete those snapshots at any time. And that's a bummer because that's exactly what a Catalina update will do. You install a Catalina update and you have these snapshots on here, they will be removed by the update. And you can actually see in the log it says it's purged. So I wanted to mention this because again, it is still working in Mojave. And I did a test and I ran a snapshot and then I installed the update. And then as soon as it came back up, the previous snapshot that I made was there, and the snapshot made by the installer was there. So it's really a great feature, and I hope Apple will bring it back one day. Let's talk about Safari. Safari had an issue in the 14.01 update for Mojave that prevented uploads. So let's say you had your Gmail open and you clicked the upload button to attach a file. The attach button didn't work. The good news is a couple of my readers have chimed in and said, hey, there's a couple workarounds. Obviously, you can use Chrome or Firefox for this issue, but they said that if you drag and drop the file, that is another workaround. A couple other people were saying if you click on the upload button a bunch of times, sometimes you get a dialog. And I didn't test that, but that was something that's interesting. And the problem is it's not fixed. The same readers are reporting that it's in 14.02 installed after the update too, so that's a big bummer. Now next, let's talk about the install process. I mentioned previously in the 2020-006 security update that what happened was with the debacle, which was the 2020-005 update, that when you received the software update, when you clicked on software, if you had a base Mojave system that you just reinstalled, this is what you would see in software update when 006 was available. You could only install up to 2020-005 and then hit install now. Then you had to let it install, come back up, then download 2020-006 and then hit install now. What a huge pain. The good news is that again, this install process is now fixed with 2020-007 for Mojave. All you do is open up software update and you will see 2020-007. Now keep in mind, if you're keeping up to date, that's not a big deal. But it's important to understand of how do you get a reinstalled Mojave system all the way back up to security and compliance. So that's great news that Apple fixed that, so we didn't have to make the jump to 2005 and then make another jump to 007. So let's talk about testing the install process. Whenever the security updates and the major combination updates for Big Sur, for example, come out, I always test these because there could be problems. And that's why my recommendation to you is to always wait for the updates. Whenever an update comes out, give it a week, let it cool down, let other people try this, and if it's causing problems, unfortunately, they're gonna have some of the problems, and you can see those, or I'll report them, and you won't have the problems. In testing this process, I have two systems that I usually test on for Mojave and Catalina for the security updates. What I'll do is I'll install a base system to see what software update provides to you as a user as available security updates, and this is a picture of what that looks like. So a base install of 10.15.7 Catalina will show you security update -2020-001 10.15.7 at 1.32 gigabytes. And that's fine, that's great. But notice that there's two Safaris, and you're thinking to yourself, what the heck's going on here? The versioning is off. The packages should say, hey, this is the latest update. I should not show this and only show 14.02. So that's a problem. Now notice that when we go to Mojave here, the same thing happens, but it's even worse. You've got this macOS supplemental update 10.14.6, which is 14.0 Safari. And then you've got Safari 14.01 and then Safari 14.02. Now if you see this as a user, you're going to think, what am I supposed to do here? Should I just click on install now? What happens if I only just install the security update? Wonder if I uncheck this and then maybe check mark this and do these? Should I do any of them? That's what I'm here for. I do the testing for you and let you know what happened. And I've got it all here. I've tested all these scenarios. I've tested installing only 14.02. I've tested only the supplemental update. I've installed both the security update and the supplemental update. I've installed all three of these, including all the way up to 14.01. And then I tested all four of them together. And the order of the install is, and what's interesting is this is important. This isn't normally in order. So you might think that the security update gets installed first, but that requires a restart of the system. So the first thing, the order of installation for these security updates is the supplemental update, which is 14.0, then 14.01, then 14.02, then the security update. Whew, okay. What a mouthful, right? That's the Mojave security update. Now back to the Catalina update here. I did the same thing because again, you've got the two security updates here, and you'll see now I've got the systems up here. We'll take a look here. And what's interesting about software update is it's kind of tricky, right? It says, hey, you've got an update. Oh, it's macOS Big Sur. So you might think, oh, I should just install this update. But, smarter viewers will notice that there's, oh, in the little small text, other updates are available. Let's click more info. Okay, here's are the updates for our system. Here's what you're shown as available. And again, if you only wanted to install a security update, that's fine. Hit install now. And it'll only install a security update and you'll still be on the old version of Safari. Now, it would also work if you just did this. If you only wanted 14.01, you can click install now, and when you come back up from the update, you will still have 14.02 as available. Now here's an interesting part. Another thing that I tested was, well, what if you uncheck this and you just went with a security update and 14.02? That works. And the nice thing about it is this Safari will not come back after the update. You are fully up to date, so you can save yourself a little bit of install time and download time if you wanted to do that, and that works. So that's Catalina. Now let's go back to Mojave here, and the same thing. If you notice. But we've got that supplemental update that I was talking about, and that's where things get a little bit more confusing here. If you wanted to, the same thing works with Catalina. If you wanted to, you could just uncheck the supplemental update, uncheck 14.01, only install the security update and Safari 14.02. That works. And again, that'll save you a little bit of download time and a little bit of installation time, and it works. I wonder if you're saying, well, wait, why would Apple give me these updates? Maybe I should install them. Well, guess what? Let software update handle it and just hit install now. I've tested that path and it works just fine also. That's Mojave. Now, what I wanted to do is hop back to Catalina because there was something that I didn't talk about, and that is that when all those updates, these updates for Catalina are done, if you just hit install now here, there's another update. When you come back up from installing the security update, you are now offered the 10.15.7 supplemental update that would bring you to 19H15. And that's weird because the build number that you're installing after this is higher than 19H2. So you're thinking, well, what the heck am I supposed to do with this? Well, I found out for you because I clicked install now, and exactly what I figured was going to happen. Here's the error message that I captured that said that this update can't be installed because it's no longer recommended for your computer, because it checked the versioning number and it said that if I can only install the supplemental update if it matches certain build versions of the operating system. So if you look in here, it says, again, the volume check has failed. Will not continue to install the product 73001 after a volume check failure. And then the best part of it is it removes it. Removed local product from software update. So once you hit install now, it's going to fail out and then remove it, because this is going to sit in here and you're going to wonder, what the heck am I going to do with this thing? So it's very possible when the next security update comes out, you could uncheck this and just install this and this might go away, kind of like the Safari part, like the 14.01, but we don't know that. So again, I clicked install now. It did fail out. I'm letting you know what happened. You could leave this here if you want. You don't have to click install this, but it's going to kind of bother you, and it's going to leave that goofy one here in the tray. It's going to annoy you if that annoys you. Seeing that, hey, I still have an update to install, and what am I going to do? So again, that's why I tested that out to make sure that worked here. Okay, so let's talk about some of the information about each of the security updates and the build numbers. Before I go there, I always mention this page, the database that I keep of all the installers here, the firmware releases, the IPSW restore releases, all this information. If you're ever wondering when a previous update came out or a beta update, I've got everything here for you, all documented. So if you're ever trying to figure out something, come to this page, and I'll include a link in the description. This security update for Catalina brings Catalina up to 19H114, and it's 1.32 gigabytes in size. and I've got a package downloader right here, which brings you to the Apple Downloads page, which you can just download a PKG or a package installer if you didn't want to run it through software update. Now, what's interesting about this is I mentioned the package installers because recently Apple has stopped releasing package installers for Big Sur, and this is actually big news, and I reported this here, and Mike asked the question, hey, there's no macOS 11 update downloadable installers, and I responded that there isn't any. Normally there would have been by this time, by December 17th. It usually comes out one day or two behind, and it's put on the Apple Downloads page. So this blew up, and Howard Oakley and I covered this, and it's a big deal because you can use these packages for testing, or if the software update binary didn't work, or software update pane and software system preferences didn't work, you can always fall back to the package installer. Or if something you change in the system and you want to just reinstall it over the top again, that was the only way you can do that. Now, if you want to reinstall the security update for whatever reason, you would have to download the entire macOS Big Sur installer, and the problem is Apple doesn't keep those available previous versions like they do with these. You can go all the way back years and get previous package downloads that Apple still keeps it, but they don't keep their full installers. So unless you're downloading those full installers and keeping them on your system, you're not going to be able to test this stuff. So that's why I wanted to mention that, because that's kind of a huge pain and could be causing some problems here. That's Catalina, and the same thing for Mojave here. It is a 1.69 gigabytes, and it is 18, the build number goes to 18G7016, and here's a downloadable link to the package. And of course, Safari 1402, there is no package download. But what's interesting about this is there actually is a package. It's not, you're not going to find it on the Apple Downloads page. So let's go there real quick so you can see what I'm talking about here. So you won't find something like this for Safari. But if we go back to one of our systems here and we go to download that, I'll show you how you can grab that package so you can keep it for later. So let's do this. Let's go open up Terminal. We'll do a software update list. We'll wait for this to go, and I'll show you where this is stored on Mojave and Catalina. You go to Library, Updates, and all of the updates are stored in this folder. So let's say you want to retain one of these Safari packages. So let's see what we got here. We want this guy right here. So we can use the software update binary to just download and not install. So let's do that. Software update -D for download, and then you want to do a quotes because there's spaces, or you want to do quotes on this. There's no spaces in this one, so you really wouldn't have to do that, but I usually do that. For example, if there's a space in here, you would have to do a backslash for the terminal to understand this. So it's downloading Safari now. So we'll open up Activity Monitor so you can see that working here. And sure enough, we were downloading about 4 megs a second. And then look at this. Here we've got our product ID folder. Inside here is going to be the Safari package, and look at that. You could store that if you want in whatever, if you have an external hard drive or something and you want to keep a copy of this. All you need to do is just grab this out and put it wherever you want. Cool, huh? Okay, so that is Safari. Now, if you have a T2 Mac from 2018 till 2020, you have a BridgeOS update, and it updates to 18.16.13.030. The previous was 17.16.16610. So that was updated too. I've got all the previous security update releases here. And finally, we have the security related content, the main information about what this is all about. Now, what's interesting about this page is this is a live document. And it's live because this update actually fixes security related issues that have not been publicly announced yet. And I'll give you an example. This was released on December 14th, but when we scroll down here, and I'll show you, I'll find one here, December 22nd. And you can see when the entry was updated, and you can go all the way down to the bottom and see when Apple has released or updated this article, and there you go. It shows you when they've updated to add new pieces in there that have now been released to the public. So I just figured that you guys would think that's interesting. And I think we have, there's 46 public fixes in there. And what's interesting is if you go back to that page, Some of them are all only for example, Catalina and Mojave, but some are for Big Sur. But for example, this is for Big Sur, the 11.1 update. That means that it doesn't affect Mojave or Catalina when you see it like this. When you see all of them in here, that means that fixes for all the supported operating system. But what's interesting is here you'll notice this. High Sierra, there is no 007 security update for High Sierra, so that must have been fixed in the 2020-006 security update. So I thought that was interesting that they published that too. So did you guys install the security update? How's Safari working for you? Are you still on Catalina? Are you still on Mojave? Are you waiting to make the jump to Big Sur? Catalina and Mojave are pretty stable. I would venture to say that Mojave is the most stable right now. Catalina does have its issues. Big Sur is starting to get a little stable, but still a little bit of a bumpy road. So there's still a lot of users on Catalina and Mojave right now. And that's why these updates are important. And I wanted to make sure that we go over all the features and things that you want to keep an eye out for. Let me know in the comments what you think about this update, if you've installed it or not. I appreciate you watching. If you found value in this video, feel free to click that like button. It would really help me out, along with the subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this in the future. And if you are a subscriber, I really do appreciate it. And we're going to see a lot more videos like this in the future. We'll talk to you in the next one. Thanks.